Welcome to the Sunday night Oh So Spurs weekly roundup. The one place, possibly, maybe not, probably the only place on the internet where you're going to get a Spurs roundup that's not full of made up stuff and has an ounce of less emotion to it. And we try focus on the facts. Kind of really badly messed up. But you know what I'm trying to say? Hysteria free Spurs roundup every Sunday, 9:30 in the UK. But it's morning for you, Joe. 6:30 in the morning. How you doing?
It is morning for me. I'm doing well. I had a nice weekend away with the wife at a spa, so I'm a lot more relaxed than I think most Spurs fans are at the moment. And then, good morning to people in Asia, midday in the US, and good evening to you guys.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I should start with good morning, afternoon, and evening when we start these. And JJ, how are you? You're in the same time zone as me, so good evening.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm okay.
Oh, we've got a little bit of patchy bit of signal there, but
I think I've got a bit of time delay, but yes, I'm doing
good. Well, good to have you back on, mate. Good to have you back on. But yeah, today, just want to quickly say hello first to those dialing in. So, hello, Moss Chops. I know your real name, but do I say it? I don't know if you're happy for me to use your real name, but we speak on the WhatsApp group. So, hi, mate. Happy for me to say it. Hey, Sean. Good to see you. And of course, Ross. We didn't forget you this time, mate. And hey, Con. How you doing? Good afternoon to you. Where do you want to start, Joe? We've got quite a bit to talk about. We've had the Bayern game. We've had Palhinha's debut. Fans getting quite concerned about injuries and debating whether we've got a better or worse squad than last year. We've got a Super Cup to preview. There's a lot going on there. Where do you want to start?
I guess the furthest thing away from today was the Bayern Munich game. So we can go back in chronological order and go back to then and just touch on the effects of the game and what it was like, I think. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I guess I'll start what I've thought about it. It was tough. It was a very tough watch. I'm going to be extremely sort of forgiving or try find an excuse, I guess, for the players is that I think Thomas Frank alluded to it. They'd been traveling a lot, and throughout the game, I didn't notice energy levels being low. But then in hindsight, when you think about that, it's like, well, yeah, maybe they've just been on 6 flights in a 2-week period and they were just completely knackered and they couldn't keep up with an extremely good-looking Bayern team. But also, too, I guess they've been on a break, Bayern, so they were coming back. Maybe that means they're fresher, or maybe it means they were rusty, but they didn't look rusty at all. And then there was just it was kind of like the last year when we would concede goals where it was just kind of like random, anything that could happen that was just sort of uncontrollable or not part of the system was an offside goal. So that wasn't a goal, obviously, that Kane scored. The penalty was probably a penalty, but dubious. And then it was 2 like wonder goals. Yeah. Even though he missed the penalty, obviously. But 3 wonder goals, really. And sort of when we concede wonder goals, I'm always like, well, what can you do about that? Do you remember the game in Turkey when that was like that shot from like across the box? And I was like, well, what can you do about that? Like, what can you stop those goals? But we weren't good. We didn't create anything. I think maybe because we're so tired, we were dropping so deep. Like there was so much space on the top of the box all the time. And they could just cut it back. And what's the Italian guy's name for them? He missed a fair few chances. I can't remember his name anyway. But yeah, I think it was probably coming towards the end, and I think they needed a rest from all the travel. But I'm being generous there. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I'll pass it to JJ in a second, but
yeah, go.
I didn't really read too much into it. In many ways, I've looked at all these friendlies as exactly what Frank described them as, and they were just getting minutes in legs and fitness up. Someone left a good expression. It was friendlies, you don't get a view of how well you're going to play, but you get a view of how you're going to try and play. I think that was what someone said, something on those lines, and asked JJ if he agrees with that or not in a minute as an actual coach. But that's how I kind of saw it. And I saw like a Bayern side that's, is it third year now in their project with company, who are kind of at the stage of how do we fine tune this machine and go for the Champions League, versus a team who's very much of, we've had a lot of movement in the squad again. We're trying to build some foundations to solidify ourselves back into the top 6 of the Premier League. And, we're at the first phase of that journey. So it just looked like two sides at a different space. What did you make of the game, JJ? What did you pick up for the Bayern game?
Yeah, it was a very difficult game. I think the generous view from you, Joe, is right. There was a lot of travel went in. The Spurs team bounced from Asia back to the UK for about a day and then headed back out, which is logistically is quite a lot. The team did look a bit sluggish. They did look a bit tired, but that Bayern team's far superior in every aspect of the play. They absolutely had our number. They knew how we were going to try and move the ball forward. We've shown we're already quite limited in terms of how we're going to progress the ball. We haven't quite, layered on the attacking element that Thomas Frank's going to look to. But the elements that he has already shown his hand for in pre-season, they were absolutely ready for them. The way they threw their press, they angled their press to push us into certain positions. And they're things that we've seen last season, putting Jed Spence on the left-hand side into positions where he had 2 and 3 players in front of him with no outball, no outlet. All of these kind of things, they've done their homework. They look fresher than us, and they've got a quality of player that is a level above what we've got across the team pretty much, man for man. I guess there's a few players in our team might stand a chance of getting in there. So when you add all that together, they were far superior. It was pretty disappointing that we didn't have any answers going forward. We didn't have anything really to offer. And I'd be interested to hear what people thought. I watched the game in the stadium, right? So I was there. So I'm slightly different to being able to watch it with a bit more, emphasis on the screen. But for me, it felt like Richarlison was probably our best or maybe most effective player. And then Kudus tried hard. So I'd be interested to, like, people that watched it on TV, what it looked like. But yeah, we didn't offer a great deal. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing.
And there's a question specifically for you, JJ, and I do want to get to the tackle in a minute, because Richarlison's an interesting one, guys, because he's always seen as this player we talk about in the window of, we need to get rid of him. He can't stay fit. But every manager who has him, he ends up taking on a pretty key role after a while, like he did under Ange at the end. He seemed to have solidified a place ahead of Son. And he often felt like our biggest goal threat when he was fit. And in the preseason games, he seems to have some value there as well. But Ross says, probably a question for JJ, but is Jed's best position left back or right back?
I mean, it's a good question. I think it's one that's hard to answer because he's not really played that many minutes at right back. So when you've got someone like Pedro Porro, who is so good going forward, he's so good on the ball that he makes up for his, potentially his defensive frailties. You just don't get Jed Spence into the side. And we've already seen under Thomas Frank, he's going to use Pedro Porro for half space crosses and for switching play and, for decent balls into the midfield. So you're not going to get, Jed Spence is not better at those elements than Pedro Porro is. And therefore Porro is not coming out of the side unless he's been given a rest. And last season, he was an absolute warrior. He played basically every minute. And so Jed Spence, is he better one side or the other? I don't know, because I haven't seen enough of him at Spurs for that. But he is an excellent right-footed, and he's got a lot of quality carrying the ball forward as well. So I'm very happy if he is the understudy on the left-hand side, but that doesn't mean we don't need full-back cover as well.
We definitely do need. And I want to bring up a screenshot of our squad at the moment, because John Ellis has just put it in the WhatsApp group, a really good one. I was posting earlier our squad depth, thinking, you know what, it's all right. You've got Solanke, Richarlison up front. You've got Talon Odegaard on the left. You've got Kudus, Johnson, Kulusevski on the right. we need to obviously get someone to back up Maddison. You've got 6 decent midfielders. Anyway, he's put a lot of red lines through these, reminding me of who isn't actually available, though. We've already got a bit of a mini injury crisis. But just a shout out to Kem. How are you, Kem? Looking forward to seeing you at the ground, hopefully, for Burnley, if you'll be around. Good to see you. Effing hell, good to see you. And Billy, good to see you as well, mate. Lovely to spend the evening with you all. But yeah, guys, what about the attack? JJ mentioned it there. Richarlison seems like our biggest threat at the moment up front. Do we look at that as a negative, or somewhere in between where it's like, well, maybe there's value in this guy? He wasn't rubbish at Everton, and he's certainly shown he hasn't always been rubbish at Spurs. Or are you just going to give me the easy answer? If he stays fit, he's all right.
I mean, that is true, but I won't give the easy answer. I think he's probably much maligned due to the fact that he gets injured so regularly. But the chance that he had against Bayern, I was surprised that he missed, to be honest. That is normally something that he would gobble up. And maybe it's just preseason rust coming back off the injury that I wasn't aware of after the Europa League. So, yeah, I do think it's hard with strikers because they can't play in isolation. And when we really didn't move the ball well from back to front, we couldn't really create much. It's hard to sort of judge him on that. Because strike, I mean, like look at Haaland, for example. He touches the ball 8 times a game. So he's just there to finish. And I mean, Richie didn't finish that chance he had, but I can't think anyone really say that Richie's finishing is poor. I don't think it is. I didn't think that Tal was far off him though in that game. I thought Tal was still okay in the strike position. I do want to see him play more on the left, and we're thin at the forward line because Solanke isn't known for getting injured, but he has been injured fairly regularly for us. He's had 2 sort of decent layoffs or time out in the not even year and a half he's been with us yet. So I still think we need someone. I don't think we should get rid of Richie. I think we should keep him, but I think we still need another striker. And obviously Lancashire's gone on loan now. Where did he go? Notts County, maybe? Was that where he went?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, you go on now.
There was a good loan update today, by the way, showing that pretty much everyone except for Mikey Moore, who was unavailable, got minutes out of the 10 players we got out on loan. JJ, do you know, top of your head, how many players a squad can send out on loan, or Joe? I thought we were limited to 8, but we've got 10 by the looks of it, which is a big number.
I didn't know there was a rule for how many people we could loan. I mean, Chelsea probably have about 50 players on loan, don't they?
Yeah, that's true. I thought there was a limit, but I'll have to look that up for the next one. JJ, I'm not sure if your signal's there or not and you can hear us, but if you can, I was going to pass over to you to about Tell, because Joe touched on it there, to see whether you see him more as a player that's, not shown his best yet, because he's always been chucked up front so often and not really had much time on the left wing, which would appear to be his main position, right? I think JJ's bandwidth is a bit broken. He might need to restart. But Joe, go on, you're back.
Yeah. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Just a bit of a lag there.
Okay. So the question, I think, is about Matisse Tell and his best position. And yeah, he's definitely shown that for Tottenham and playing in the Premier League, it's going to be on the left-hand side. That's his, best space, because he can have a better go at. He's not bad. He's got nice technique. He's got good touch. He's quite quick. He's very confident, and you need that as a wide player. But he doesn't have a huge physique. He's not a really strong player. His hold-up play, we saw that in the previous game. Now, don't get me wrong, the long kicks out from the goalkeeper, from Vicario, are not the best in terms of giving a striker a chance, but he has not got that physical element. He is not going to hold the ball up. He's not going to win the ball as a number 9. And at the minute, we're seeing that ball go long quite often from centre-halves and from goalkeeper. Matisse Tell is not going to be the guy that's going to be able to secure that ball and bring people into play off him. And so, yeah, playing him off the left-hand side is going to be his best position at this moment in time. He has shown He's got a good touch and he can whip a ball in as well. So he's obviously cutting back onto his right foot and he can whip a ball in. Decent set piece delivery as well. So there's definitely a player there. But if he is going to be, if he's going to be the player that you're going with on the left-hand side as your first choice, we're going to need a lot more in the middle in terms of being able to secure possession. And I don't mean by the number 9, I mean by the 10s and the 8s. They need to be in there being able to get hold of the ball so that we can possess it higher up the pitch. Because if we're continuously playing back to front really, really quickly, transition style or not, and the ball comes back or the ball goes dead, that is going to be really unsustainable. It's going to look a lot like the stuff from Postecoglou that people didn't like. So we are going to need players who can get hold of the ball, they can get on the ball, and they can play and secure it higher up the field. And then that will allow players like Odegaard and Tell to be 1v1 versus players and try and get around the outside, try and create and try and use their skills to the best of their ability.
Well, talking of other players that were important that we saw a bit of, Joe, Palhinha's debut, did you think he looked like he was giving I think JJ described it before, another episode he did, I know he did. He said, Palhinha, it's about the platform he gives other players as much as about what he does for himself on the pitch. Did you notice his influence on the game?
He didn't play well, I don't think. However, he'd barely played. I think he played like a couple of sub appearances at the Club World Cup for Munich. He's barely played. I think he'd be extremely rusty, and I think to judge him on that would be very harsh on that game. He also hasn't played with those guys before, so positioning wise, been in a couple of days to get tactics wise, and also going back to Munich, he probably really wanted to impress. So it was probably because he just came from left there as well, or he's on loan from there. So it was a hard one to put him in. So I don't think he was good, but I also don't want to judge him on that performance because of all the other factors. But I am hoping that he will give us that platform to set a few guys freer, and then we can actually have more bodies connecting into our forward line. Because we're setting up. I think it seems like we're setting up to be defensively strong, and that was the first thing we're implementing. But we're obviously very close to competitive games now, so fingers crossed that it's the attacking stuff starts to get implemented as well.
Well, maybe we should start starting towards the kind of general vibe and reaction to that defeat, because we'd beaten Arsenal not long ago, and people were starting to go, "Ooh, maybe Spurs aren't as bad as I thought. Maybe they're ready for a top 6 fight already. Maybe this season's going to be a bit of fun." And then it's a loss to Bayern Munich, and we're doomed. Relegation looms. What are we going to do? The only thing that could save us possibly now would be £100 million signing, but not one of them. We need 3 or 4 of them. Otherwise, it's all over. But, there's always like that in football. We are emotionally attached to our team to a level that people around us who don't follow football find obsessive and strange, often from the outside. And therefore, it's normal to get perhaps a bit giddy when things are going well, and a bit obsessive when things go wrong in a negative way. But where are you at in terms of like how the pre-season's gone? JJ, I don't know if you've got the latency back, but what's your kind of overview of how you think the pre-season's gone so far? Have you seen like Frank focusing on specific things that have been evolving, or do you think we're going to have to wait till the season kicks off before we actually get a feel of whether we are in a good position or not?
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me a bit better now. But
yeah, we can.
If you don't, both of those things, Jim, are true at this moment in time. So there are things that we were going in, we thought we'd see, and we're definitely seeing them. There are things that have, written himself clearly in terms of what he's going to be trying to achieve in his time. And then we should definitely be hoping that there's plenty more to come. So we're going to have to wait for us to go through pre-season, get all the players we're going to get in by the end of the transfer window, get a few, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 games in with a new manager and a new coaching staff, and hopefully keep seeing stuff. Now, from that point onwards, it's about tweaking and it's about management. It's about what do you do with injuries and busy schedule and, you know, whatever's thrown at you by the season. So we definitely need to see more. When you're looking at preseason, and some people say don't judge anything, it's about minutes. Some people say, you know, losing their minds over everything. It's somewhere in between, because there are, you know, consistent patterns. And when you see consistent patterns, those are the things that if they're good, you're thinking to yourself, that's great. That's really what we wanted to see. And we're delighted with that. And then if you're seeing consistent patterns that are on the negative side of things, you're thinking to yourself, okay, that is something that needs taken care of, because I'm seeing it time and again. And I think, as most people are able to identify, we've not yet solidified how we're going to possess the football, how we're going to progress it, and how we're going to attack teams. All right. The goals that we've scored, and we've not scored many, but the goals that we've scored have been opportunistic or good play or a bit of, you know, lung busting stuff from Pap Sarr. That's not how we are going to consistently score goals going into this season. They're not going to be going in from 50 yards away, and Pap Sarr is probably not going to be our top scorer. And if he is, we might well be talking about a very difficult season. So there's plenty more to come. Fingers crossed.
That depends how many goals Pap Sarr scores as our top scorer, JJ. Come on, it could be those goals.
20.
Yeah, everyone keeps talking about these, you know, us needing to replace Sonny's 24 goal contributions. Maybe we've already got it in the team in our new number 10. That's maybe why maybe we pulled out of Morgan Gibbs-White, because Papa Sarr's been pulling off worldies in training. Of course, I'm talking nonsense, but Kem's just asked about the loan limits. So someone else in the comments actually answered it earlier. And you're limited to how many players you can loan out to other FA-registered clubs, by the sounds of it. So, which I think it's 8, but I'll have to look it up and confirm it on tomorrow's pod, unless JJ knows top of his head. But yeah, I don't top of my head. So there you go. Joe, what about you? What's your synopsis of the preseason so far?
I can't put it much differently to what JJ's put it. It's implementation of a new strategy, new coaching staff, getting to know players. I think there is a lot of, we were solid defensively for most of the games we played, with a few mistakes here and there, but that's to be expected. And attacking wise, we scored off opportune moments, like against Arsenal, for example. But I think you have to judge a little bit off pre-season, because the coaching staff are judging. They're judging the players as individuals and how they're sort of picking up the system. But I think as far as what it's going to mean for our season, you can't really take anything, because there's plenty of times where we've had unbeaten pre-seasons and average seasons, and vice versa. I can't link those up in my mind, which ones were which. I'm kind of just making that up. Maybe they've always linked perfectly, but yeah, it's one of those ones. I am concerned about attacking wise. I think we have good players in the attacking system. Like you've mentioned, our squad's good. I think our squad is generally trending upwards over time, and I think this may transition into another topic, but I think we've brought in 2 Premier League proven players. I know Palhinha had a poor season at Bayern, but that was probably due to play style and his skill set, and just not lining up, and then wanting to be more progressive, where he's sort of just a platform to build off and break up the play. Kudos, proven Premier League player. In the past, and we've obviously, we brought in those guys that were on loan, so we've made a couple of guys permanent. I think it's all comparative to other teams at the moment, because I don't think there's ever been a window where other teams have been so aggressive as well in who they're picking up and who's coming into teams. Like there's multiple teams spending hundreds and hundreds of millions.
Well, it's less. Yeah. It's like a smaller number of teams, but it's Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal over the last few years.
And United. Over the last few years. They've
spent so aggressively, but Spurs, and up until this season, Newcastle and Villa too. But this season, it's just Liverpool and City and Arsenal just And Chelsea just
but
ramping it
United
up. And
too, though. United have got Cunha and Buemo, Sesko, and I don't think Believer will end up happening because I don't think Brighton will let him go. But they're signing a lot of players. I mean, Newcastle's window is worse than ours for sure. They've had a nightmare, and I guess that is pro Lang's working in silence because you don't get rejected publicly like Liverpool. I mean, Newcastle have been rejected publicly constantly. But yeah, I think it's if we went in isolation, like so far are we still 2 weeks out from the window closing with making 2 guys permanent that we were, or most of us were happy. Everyone was happy with Danso, I think, making him permanent. Tell is young, so there's still question marks on him whether he'll turn out to be the player, but we reduced the fee. Palhinha was probably the best defensive 6 in the league for 2 seasons. Well, he had the most tackles in that period of time. Kudos looks great for us in terms of ball carrying, and he's exciting as well. If just in isolation with 2 weeks left, we've also brought in a young defender as well. I think you could be like, well, we're doing well so far, I think. And if we can add the cherry on top, then great. It'd be amazing. And I think we do need to do that, especially with where we are in our cycle of Spurs' growth over the years. I think potentially now is not just that other teams are doing a lot, but we're sort of getting to that point where we should be able to do that now. Not be able to take players that Liverpool want, because Liverpool still have the huge pull of their fan, like how big they are as a club and stuff like that. But there's no reason now where we don't have the money to be able to do these things. So I think there's expectation that we can do things now along and have that marquee signing, plus the other teams doing stuff and making our window not look as good as I think in isolation it probably is. Well, I feel like it's going well so far. And then the final part is injuries. If Maddison and Kula were fit, this situation wouldn't be as dramatic either. So, yeah, I've merged into that topic now. But are you fine with me merging to that topic, Jim? Is that
no,
okay?
it's absolutely fine. Let's let it flow how it flows. But
yeah,
I'll just bring up quickly to set the scene because on the squads, I think just want to add with Man United, I feel United are a little bit different because whereas I think Liverpool, City, and Chelsea have done really good business and bought good players that are good value, I think Man United have overpaid for players that haven't addressed their main issues and are more attainable. Like I just don't put their windows in the same bracket, maybe in terms of how much they've continued to evolve. But I'll just
have a track record too of failing with bringing their slot. Like every player that's come in the last nearly 5 years has been unsuccessful. So you're kind of like, well, will Sesko be any good because he's a United player?
Well, this, if you can see it, was our 11 just before Ange joined. So when Ange did sign, basically, we didn't have a number 10. Well, because Kane was pretty much number 10 and striker, wasn't he? Son and Perisic were our left wingers, but Perisic had done his ACL, I believe, so he wasn't available. So we just had one left winger. Kulusevski was our only right winger, if you call him a right winger. So we had one player in each position in the front four. If one of them got injured, we were talking about Bentancur or then even younger Sarr, or like there really was just no such thing as depth in that team. Our midfield has a few overlapping names, but come on, I mean, Højbjerg, Skip, Sarr, Basuma, there's not much creativity in there. Left back was Davies and Sessegnon. Longley and Sanchez left centre back.
Oh, this is crazy.
Romero, Tanganga at right centre back. I think there you've got one centre back you'd go as the level one player in that whole squad. I'd say you've got three, maybe 4 players in the whole squad. You could push up to 5 that you're like, yeah, we should keep them. It's looking pretty bleak. Lloris was on a big slide at that point. I'm just kind of highlighting this to show that things have changed. Then you lose Kane, which is just the most enormous drop off because he carried us to a higher points in the table than we could with that squad. But then we go to 22 or 25. Even then, no backup left back. Van der Ven and Davies are left centre back. Romero and Dragusin right centre back. It's it's kind of a bit more balanced though. We've got a number 10. We've got 2 right wingers. We've got 2 left wingers, 2.5 for you include Werner. 2 out-and-out strikers. Things start to move forward a little bit. 2 midfielders in Bergvall and Ventica who can maybe pass the ball forward a bit. And you go through to this season, and I feel just now there's a lot of injuries. We need to almost. I wish there was a pen. Oh, there is a pen on here. You can start to draw this stuff on, but because there's mammoth number of players out at the moment, like Maddison, Solanke, and others. But when everyone's fit in here, that squad actually looks all right, doesn't it, guys? I just see us being a bit doomy gloomy about it, but I'm kind of like Udogie is a player that has been linked to Manchester City for good reason. Van de Ven we all rate very highly. Romero's Romero. Danso's a good player. Vicario's a decent keeper. Kinski's a good backup. Porro I think is fast flying up in stock. Palhinha we think improves the side. Bentancur's still a good player. Berryvale's come on loads. Sarr's come on quite a lot. Kudus we think is going to be a good signing. There's reasons for, before those crushing injuries, that there was quite a bit of reason for some hope. Do you guys feel the squad's progressed over the last 3 years? I guess, JJ, if you're back
JJ,
on, yeah. Do you feel the squad's progressed, or do you feel it's kind of standing still? What's your thoughts?
I think there are ways that you could look at it that it has progressed. We are, unfortunately, and I think we've said this before, we are having to pay for the sins of prior transfer windows and, lack of future planning, lack of sorting out homegrown and club trained, lack of bringing through academy players. And so we've had to do a lot of that work in the last couple of seasons, and so we've started to do that. And the idea being is that you're hoovering up some of the best talent that there is in those younger players. So you're bringing in Gray and you're bringing in Berryvale, players like that who are potential for the future. But if you want to be more successful than we have been, i.e. a 5th place finish in one season and a Europa League, which when you just write it down on paper like that isn't too bad, right? If you said that without any context, but you are going to need, if you're going to challenge, and that's the bit that we still haven't done. It feels like we haven't done it. Palhinha, to a certain extent, does that for us. Palhinha is a profile we didn't have. We now have it. He is not going to change the season dramatically for Tottenham. He's not going to be the one player that everything hinges on, but he fills a gap. He will be a good player. And Kudus, again, is another one of those this season that you would say, yes, he is first team. He goes into first choice for his position on the football pitch, and therefore that is a step in the right direction. But it still feels like we're in a situation where there's a few gaps in that squad at the front end of it, whereas we've done a good job building out the youth and building out the depth, as you've said, and showing it there on the table. It just feels now, layer on a couple of good first team players on top of that, and then maybe this is a successful season, taking out injuries and bad luck and drawing Man City, Liverpool and Arsenal in all of the cups or whatever it is, those kind of things that you can't do anything about.
It does feel like, at least, Joe, it's more rounded. Like, there's loads of things in there that need to improve. You need to do better than Ben Davies, in my opinion. You need a better primary backup to Van der Ven than Takai. We don't know what Takai's going to be like, but it's expecting a lot to assume he's going to be already at Danso's level. You need 10. You need another option to Palhinha, who's our longer term solution to that 6. But there's also good players in there as well. That, I guess where I'm going with it is, I know people seem to be talking about we'd be lucky to get top half, whereas I'm kind of thinking, I look at Newcastle's squad and Villa's squad and Forest's squad and think they've got lots of gaps too.
But anyway. Forest, no, I'm sick of them. So annoying. I think it's a good platform to build on. I think sort of what JJ alluded to is that I think with the baseline that we have now, we can just add a couple of stars into this. I think it's definitely gotten better over time. I mean, Kane's 10 out of 10 playing ability sort of brings up the average so much because he's just so good. So like he made up such a difference in that, and to have him for so long and then to not have him, it just tells. Like it's just obvious how much of an impact he has. But I mean, I'm pretty bullish on Odegaard, to be honest. I think if he can get his finishing up and his final product up a bit higher, I feel like he can become a really good player. I think he needs a bit more of a stronger personality on the field. I think he needs a bit more aggressive. He seems a little bit shy at times, but I think he has a good skill set there. But you're right. Defensive wise, if we're looking at Davis, yes, he needs to be upgraded. However, back to what we were talking about before, I kind of feel like we should maybe get a right back in, because I do think that Spence can just play as a left back, and Van der Ven can go over there. We do need someone to come in and be a better backup for Van der Ven as well. I don't know how we get that person in, because we need him to be sort of Danso's level, and sort of that's a rare sort of skill set to get, because you're looking at someone that's good enough to be a starter but is willing to play backup. So you've got that's hard. And when you get to the teams like Chelsea, where it's basically really high wages and 9 times out of 10 Champions League over their history and a trophy as well, it's easy to get someone to come be a sort of backup player. But I think when we're at this stage where we're looking to push on into, I mean, we have been consistently Champions League in the past decade, but to have that person, I think that's a hard person to bring in. So I'm not too worried if we don't bring it in this window, but I feel like we do need forward options, and I feel like that's where I want our money to be spent now. And I think we could still spend 100 million, 150 million this window. I feel like we should spend that much money on 2 players.
The thing is, we've already spent 110. And I know that's not enough, because we've got these, JJ mentioned earlier, like we haven't moved the needle on the key positions that move the needle for the whole team. I'd say we've rounded the squad better, and then the injuries have kind of undone a lot of that progress, which is frustrating. But, you know, the positions that are going to change are on the front half of the pitch at the moment, which is, JJ, is it number 10 as your number one kind of priority for Spurs? But also different type of attacking player as well, on the wide positions, maybe on the left. Do you think we need to like directly replace Son?
No, because you don't replace Son. You don't replace that skill set. You don't replace what he gave when he was firing on all cylinders. That's why I think we mentioned it before. A number 10 who plays off the left is a great option. You know, if you have to spend extra money for that, it's the equivalent of getting 2 players. So you're not getting an out-and-out take-on merchant on your left-hand side, and therefore you've got someone like Kudus on the right to do that work for you. But if you have a creative number 10 who plays off the left-hand side and can work those rotations and those half spaces around that left-hand side, then for me, you're getting value, because you're putting another player in there with a different profile. So if you're going to say Odegaard and Tell are going to play more traditional either winger style or wide forwards, then you put a number 10 that can play off the left in there. You're covering 2 positions, and any manager wants that kind of stuff. They want this kind of, you know, translatable skills. And then from that, if you've managed to do that bit of it, you don't need a specific number 10. You don't need an individual in the number 10 and then to cover the left-hand side. You'd say, okay, we've done a really good job. I hate to come back to it, but Ezra, watching today,
come back to it, JJ.
You put him out there. He will do a really good job for you, and then you can maybe focus. Yeah, you can go and fill 2 other positions. If you do that well, or if it's Xavi Simons or whatever it is, a 10 that plays off the left, you can then go and look at 2 other positions, and you can look at the left centre back or the left back, and then you can look at at striker as well if you need one. And I think a different profile of striker is needed, but it's difficult with Solanke and Richarlison. It's difficult to try and find quality that's going to come in and compete with 2 other people, you know, in a system that is largely plays one up front.
There you go. Fully agree, and I think even that number it feels, I guess, frustrating we haven't got that number 10 over the line, because there's two names you mentioned there, JJ, which just we don't know the truth. This is the reality. We think, based on our online perception of what's going on, that Eze and Simmons are there. They fit the profile of what we need, and they are there available for this magic £60 million, which apparently was in a box for Morgan Gibbs White, and then when it kind of fell through that deal, it got put back in the box, a little ribbon put around it, and we're just stubbornly refusing to send it out to Leipzig or to Palace to obtain an alternative, and instead we've put it under the stadium, we've buried it as deep as we can, and it's never going to be seen again. We know that's not the case, but I guess it just feels like when those options are there, and they would move the needle, it would be nice to see some just big urgency to go get it done. But I think, Joe, you said it earlier, we do operate in the shadows these days with Langer, and we don't know if discussions have been going on for weeks already for these players or with someone else.
There has been more rumours recently, the last couple of days, about we have approached Palace for Eze. I do think that I think he's worth more than 60 million to us, in consideration of the two positions he could fill at different times. So Maddison or Kulu back, he can still play. I think he's better than Morgan Gibbs White. I mean, some people might disagree with me, but I think he is an amazing player. I would be happy if we overspent by 10 million on him just to push out another team and get it done. I think we can do that now too. I'm just living in hope.
We can't afford to do it. By the way, I see your comment earlier as well. Who was it from? MS. I think we could and we should have. We can afford these players. Spurs have put themselves in a position where we won't go on this episode. It's not a finance episode, but we are able, if we can structure a deal in the way that another club will agree with, not doing massive things up front, but committing to a bigger fee over a longer term, we can afford to bring in two more £60 million players. It can be done. And Joe's saying, I think you're right, Joe. We should be open-minded to paying a premium, but carry on, Joe. Go on, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what we should do. In terms of, I think he would be the perfect fit for us. But it's whether he wants to come here is also a thing too. But I mean, there's rumours that we've put in a bid for Fernan Torres from Barcelona, which they've rejected, and he doesn't want to come here. But in terms of his playing style, he can play two positions too, or even three positions. So, and it's there's these rumours too. I don't know, because we work in the shadows now, and it seems like when a rumour happens, it means that he's not coming here. But then we sort of still signing someone equivalent, but just out of the nowhere, like Kudos, I guess. But I feel like we are trying to sign those marquee players now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear anything about random guys from random leagues. No offense to those guys, but that's all we used to hear is Spurs put in a £5 million bid for XYZ and constantly hearing those things. But now, even though rumours are minimal, it is for what would seem to be marquee players. So do you guys think we will actually sign a marquee player?
What's your gut say, JJ? You go first, mate. Do you think we'll sign someone marquee? And what is marquee in your eyes? That's part two of the question.
You grabbed the key bit there. I don't really know what a marquee signing is. It does feel like we've pivoted across to Prem Proven. And for me, Prem Proven is, to a certain extent, as valuable as what I think people think of as marquee. You know, Isak is marquee for Liverpool. Ekitike is also, as is Florian Wirtz. I could continue with the Liverpool examples. They are marquee signings. They you know, first team ready players that come in, big names, big transfer fees. But Prem Proven, you've seen it. You take a lot of the risk out of the signing. For me, it feels like we're moving in that direction to try and take a bit of the, you know, the punts that we've had with the Lo Celsos and the, you know, the Ndombeles that we've had in the past, where we've put a big money down and it's not really worked. we could definitely be in a situation where we are bringing in high profile or experienced Prem proven players. So Kuda's only a couple of seasons, but you can see the quality was there. Someone like Eze is definitely ticks all those boxes. Multiple years in the league, high, output, high performer. Yes, I can absolutely see Tottenham putting money on the table for those type of players, and we all hope it happens, obviously. Whether I think we're going to go and spend 100 million on Rodrigo, I don't know. I don't see it.
Well, guys, I'm going to trust your Spurs trivia knowledge, and it is related to what you were saying there, JJ. We often want these players, and I completely agree with you guys. We have the financial power to go and pluck one or two of these out, ready-made, an Eze now, and go get them. I don't think that's just some crazy spiel on a podcast, be yelling, go do it. I'm not saying we need to go get 5 of them, but we can certainly afford to get 1 or 2. But if you do want a team brimming with that level of talent, you need to, as a club our size, who are big enough to attract great talent, but not purchase a whole squad of 28 players in their prime for big fees. You need to get some of them when they're younger. Now, do you guys know where Eze came from when Palace signed him?
Yeah, QPR.
Came from QPR. Gahey?
Before Palace.
Yeah. He was a free transfer from Chelsea's youth academy.
I was going to say Chelsea, but I was too scared.
Wharton?
Championship, Blackburn?
Yeah, Blackburn. Sarr? I'm picking their best players from today, by the way, who everyone was waxing lyrical on.
Oh, no. Oh, Watford, maybe?
No, he was overseas.
Marseille. Yeah, there's another Sarr for Watford, wasn't there?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Mitchell. That was Brentford when they were in the Championship. And is it Munoz? He was Genk. So I just basically went on like the player performance ratings of that game and went through basically who people were voting as their Palace's best players that Spurs would want in some kind of comment section under that. It was interesting that in the same vein, people were saying, we have to go sign Eze, we have to go sign these proven players. And I was thinking, well, this whole team of players we want, not a single one of them is what we would consider coming from a top 5 league, in inverted commas. And 3 years later, from those players being signed, they're all probably valued at over £50 million each. So where I'm going with this is, do we need a balance of, let's go get an Eze now, let's go complement it with a good 6, spend that 100 million, but keep layering these, you've got to keep layering these academy players on as well, right? You've got to keep the conveyor belt going if you want to have those players come through. It's be a mix of 2.
I think we have that, though. I think that's what we've done. We've done the layering. And now I think we need to, we're at the start of the 3-year period of what you just spoke about, those players with Gray, Bergvall, Sarr, Odobert, Tell, there's Kinski. We've got those guys in that we're seeing to be 3 years' time, they're going to be those £50 million players, plus Bergvall maybe getting close because of his potential is so high to it already. So, yeah, I think we do have them, but they have in that 3-year period, those players from Palace also proven themselves in the Prem. So I think we need to then have that player now. I feel like there's a couple of young guys that I would take as well. Like James McAtee, I feel like would be worth a shout to come in as the 10. If we signed another forward and him, that'd be all right for a young guy to come in. But I feel like we need to have. I think it's like a thing that we can't like grasp of what it would do to sort of the momentum of what the idea of what's going to be achieved this year by not just the fans but the squad as well, by bringing those guys in. There's no doubt in my mind that Liverpool players that are there, Gravenberch, for example, see Wirtz, maybe Isaac and Ekitike come in and be like, yes, we're going to be so good this year. Like the morale around that at Liverpool must be so high at the moment, even not just the fan base, but the squad as well. And I feel like that's what maybe bringing a couple of these guys can do to our group as well. But it's not a tangible thing. It could just be completely made up by me. But JJ, do you think that's a real thing, that sort of I don't know, how would you even describe it? But you know what I'm trying to say.
100%. Yeah, absolutely agree, Joe. If you are a squad of players and you see a couple of real quality additions coming, and it doesn't, again, the whole marquee thing. Marquee can have an impact in a positive way in terms of ambition and that kind of stuff, but they don't need to be. But when the players get there and they're on the training pitch and they're showing what they can do, apart from the poor individual that's in that new player's spot who's about to get bumped. But if they, if they're a professional, they deal with it the way they're supposed to. They get on and they try and improve. But for everybody else, it raises the level, and it's amazing what the change of psychology when you bring in one player of quality, let alone bringing the amount that you just referenced there coming in at Liverpool. So, yeah, absolutely. You get new manager bounce, you get new player bounce, all of those kind of things. They're very real. And as a group of players in any team at any level, when you get someone with quality coming in, it definitely, changes how everyone else thinks about what you're going to do in the coming season and gives everyone confidence going forward.
So we all think a bit of a boost is needed in the form of a nice, shiny player that we know what they are. I think it's also just a nice boost to having seen that player do things before and be so familiar with them that you're just excited to see that repeated for your own club as well. Whereas certainly unknown entities always starts the same cycle. It's we've gone for this option because they were less money. Are they going to be any good? Make a massive sweeping assessment based on their first 2 or 3 games, and then either completely write them off 6 months later, or say they're going to be the next Pele and no one even knows about it, and they, no one can ever sell this player. It's a bit more rounded and knowing what to expect with these others. But so we're all in agreement then a 10 is the most important position. If you could walk away from one more senior sign this window, it should be a marquee 10.
Yeah. I think that's what, for my opinion, what the squad needs is, I don't think it's a necessity now in a left-sided centre-back to back up Van de Ven. As I mentioned before, I think it's probably easier to sign a right-back than it is to sign a left-back at the moment. So I would probably let Jed Spence play on the left and sign a backup for Porro. But I don't think they're necessities. I also think we need a ball-playing deep line midfielder in long term. Whether Archie Gray can become that, I'd like to give him the chance to become it. But now I feel like we definitely need a 10. And I don't know if we need, I don't know, maybe a winger, but I want to give Tal and Odebear the chance. And we've obviously got 2 on the right with Kulu coming back. And I'm okay with Solanke and Richie as the strikers, unless we can sign. I mean, what would be an upgrade on those 2? Like, I don't think there's anyone in the market that would be, so I don't think we can even upgrade those 2. I can't see anyone in the market that would be there. So, desperate 10, and I'm not sure whether I'm not sold on a left winger yet, unless it's Rodrigo, I guess. But do I think, like JJ said, we're going to spend 100 million on him? I don't think that's going to happen.
Rodrigo is one I don't think it's any world in which we go and sign him on a permanent basis this window. I think that's just complete clickbait. It might be something we'd like to do, and we've explored and had a rebuttal on. But he's a player who could, remain in the seat of having a key position at a club that's going to be in the Champions League, almost guaranteed every season, and fighting for a domestic trophy in whatever league he's in. Like he's that level of player where he can choose to do that. And I think he'd see Spurs as a bit of a risk right now. As fans, we don't know if we're going to be 15th or 5th. And different fans would give you different views on that. So that lack of stability, I think, makes it more difficult to sign those kind of players, which is fine. But I do see a world, and this is kind of my maybe a bit of copium, I think they call it. But I do see a world in which Spurs go, you're clearly third choice at Madrid in your position. You could go on loan in the Premier League for one season with a pathway back to your parent club, because there's an option to buy you that you have to accept as well, which you can completely within your right turn down. You'll be the main player playing in the Champions League, keep your money, and have a chance to show us how good you are to perhaps disrupt one of the spots here and move up the pecking order. Otherwise, you can stick around third choice and try break in ahead of Vinicius or Mbappe. I can see a world in which that happens after his agent's gone. Liverpool don't need me. City don't need me. PSG don't need me. Those clubs don't need me. But a Champions League club, I could be the main man for 12 months. I can just see a world in that happening. Maybe it's just some pipe dream, but it would. I think that kind of signing would be one of the few loans that I would get very excited about, personally.
I guess that kind of does work in what I was saying, though, with not really blocking Odegaard and Tal by bringing a lone player like that. Signing Eze and, say, him, there's not really any other players at his level that you could loan that are surplus to requirements of their team. It's pretty wild that Madrid have a squad like that, to be honest. I get the footballing world's becoming the same as the rest of the world, where it's been monopolized by a few teams like Chelsea just buying a ridiculous amount of players, Liverpool buying a ridiculous amount of players, Real Madrid, and they were sort of at that second tier table, just hoping some scraps fall from them at the moment. Because that's what you're describing. We're hoping scraps fall from Real Madrid.
It's not meant to be. It comes across like I'm saying.
I know that sounds bad. The way I phrased that.
No, but it's right. Like JJ, how do you my view is Spurs are in the most difficult place to compete in the table. I think it's easier, to go from 15th to 8th than it is to go from being a club Spurs' size where you don't have the historic allure of Liverpool or Man United and you don't have the money of Man City, yet those clubs are the next step that you want to compete with. So those clubs, and I put PSG in that bracket, Real Madrid in that bracket, Barcelona in that bracket, all those clubs. So there's about Bayern Munich, 7 or 8 of them. So when you look around the globe, and you'll notice, I assume every club has pretty much the same shortlist of dream players. And then it's more about it's like everyone has the same list of players, but it's more about which ones are obtainable. You start to mark green. And the higher up that list you are, the more green you got. So your life's just on easy mode versus other clubs. People say anyone could have got Haaland. He was available for 50 million quid. Even if Spurs could afford the 500 grand a week, and they could technically, and the fee, he's not going to go to Spurs because Man City want him. And if Man City don't want him, he'll ask Liverpool. And if Liverpool don't want him, he'll ask Real Madrid. And if Real Madrid don't want him, he'll ask Chelsea or City or PSG. So you have to be smarter. You have to go, I'm happy and content with players who aren't quite cutting it at Real Madrid, Rafa van der Vaart. Or you go, Elise or someone like that, I'm going to give you the first major stepping stone into the Premier League and build you up, develop you, and go through that part of the journey with you. And hopefully in the interim, tie you down to a contract where I get to keep you for a couple of years as well, before a Real Madrid knocks on the door. But that's the kind of awkward conundrum you're in until you've established yourself in the top bracket, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit too pessimistic, JJ. But what do you think our sweet spot is for signings?
I think you're exactly right, and we've got a history. We've done it. We've done exactly that thing. We're not big enough to go and get the ready-made or the superstars of the day. We never really do it. We have bought a Gareth Bale. We have developed a Harry Kane. These are global superstars that have used Tottenham as a stepping stone to go on, but they did great things with us. And so if you can build a side where you are super competitive and you're bringing in those kind of players that you elevate from within, and again, everybody might have the same list of players, all the clubs in the world might have the same list of players, but it absolutely doesn't mean that they're in the same order, because Haaland might be super important to certain teams, but he might be far less important to a team that is not Manchester City or whatever. He might not be your first choice if you're a different club. So you go with what you can go with. You go with the financial resources you've got. For Tottenham, opportunities is always where we've tried to do our business. We've neglected young players, but now we've started addressing that again, which is good to see. And we do feel like we're in that bracket. There is a group of players. There is that section of players that either have release clauses because they're at clubs that are developing them, but the only reason that player went to that club is because their agent has managed to slide a release clause in there because they know that it's a stepping stone and they're going to move. So those players, you're in that bracket because it is literally just about paying the money if the player is content to come to you. And then just waiting for dominoes in transfer windows. There are going to be unexpected things happening where somebody moves somewhere or something happens at a club or, Chelsea have a fire sale or something. And there will be players of quality available that do elevate Tottenham's first team. That's where we need to do our business. We need, on our list, we need to say, we know that at Real Madrid, there is a player who is third on the list, who is our dream left-sided player. And so you've made contact, you've spoken to the representatives, even though technically you're not allowed to, apparently. And when that opportunity, when that domino falls, when something happens, you are ready to go on that one. You've put in the groundwork because that was your guy. That was the one that you've identified. You can't sign Vinny, you can't sign Mbappe, but Rodrigo is the one that you've identified because he's third on the list at Real Madrid. It's exactly where we should be. It's just that Rodrigo's asking price is wild for us. It's way above what we would pay.
And yeah, I think it's like Craig, like your comments, I think I feel like you're missing out on these players. Like you see a City just lap them up for £30 million and you go, they were right there. They were there. And we slept on it. We didn't move on it. But the reality is, I think behind the scenes, most likely, those players have been in conversation with City's agents. Their agents have been in contact with City for ages. They've said, sit tight, we're coming. Like Spurs have also spoken to them. Liverpool have spoken to them. Chelsea, if they're good, there's no way we have more tools at our disposal to spot players prior to most Premier League, to any club in League Two, let alone the Premier League. League Two is still full of brilliant coaches and brilliant footballers and people who are at the top of their game, with fantastic tools that aren't available to us day to day. I think it can be frustrating as a fan because we don't know the inner nuances, and it's frustrating.
That's why people are getting so frustrated now, because Lang works in the darkness too. I feel like there's people like, it's not happening because I don't know about it. So I think that's adding to the frustration. Can I just ask a quick question to the chat too? Nico Paz, can anyone just say you have, if you've actually watched a game for Como? Because I definitely have never seen Como play one.
I haven't either, but I want him.
Never.
He looks great on YouTube though. He looks good on YouTube.
Yeah, it's great. So if you have, say yes, I've watched Como, and then tell me, just put the number of times you've seen Como play in the last year.
And be honest.
So
the David Beckham meme when he's talking to Victoria, be honest. Be honest in the comments. Go on. It's fine if it's a donut. You can still want him. He could still be a good signing for Spurs. But you haven't been following Como, have you?
But I mean, there's the stats-wise things these days. People have access to clips and stats comparatively to other players. So it's not as bad as what it would have been in the 90s, being like, I've never seen him play. But yeah, it's I do find that funny people, the hot name comes up for a little bit, and then we sort of forget that they ever existed, and we all want him, we're all experts. And I mean, I'm definitely not trying to be, I don't think any of us on this channel, JJ coaching wise, but transfer experts, no one's claiming to be in the know here at all. So
I've had genuine ITK. Genuine, guys. I've actually feel like in the last year I've been given genuine ITK 3 times. Every time it's been wrong. Every time it's been wrong.
Yeah.
From people I'm like, this person genuinely is in. Like, it's not like some random person on Twitter. It's people who are like, if you knew I was mentioning, you'd be like, they 100% know. This is so exciting. I'm not going to go share it on social media. It's my little secret. Every time it's wrong. So I think even people who think they've got ITK are often being misled for a different reason, to help certain dominoes fall into places in other areas. But just real quick
absolutely.
one. If you are new to Oso Spurs, any of the 800 people tuned in right now, and you like it, why not share this YouTube video in your WhatsApp group or wherever else community-wise to say, check out these guys. They're all right if you enjoy it. Or say, look at these mugs and have a laugh about us, but still share our link. And if you want to continue talking with us and you're the type of person who doesn't want to get too meltdowny, you just want to kind of have a, it's not your responsibility to fix Spurs, but you're aware of their problems and you're aware of what's good about them and you want to have a bit of a calm chat, you can join our Discord, putting it in the comments now. And it's also, if you're watching on X, I've pinned it to this in the comments to this video of it's on X as well. But there you go. I'll put it in there anyway. You're welcome to join. Guys, should we, before it gets too late, we should probably move to the Super Cup. We've got a cup final.
Yeah.
I've realised, if you can see
JJ's got something to say.
Go on, JJ. Go.
I'm putting my hand up, Jim, just to square off that last thing about transfer. Very, very quickly, there's one other element that people forget, and it is, unfortunately, in the background, every single one of these quality players has an agent and has an agency. And what you need to remember is that lots of these players, multiple, are with the same agent or the same agency. Okay, so that means that what you were referring to about, people talking to clubs and clubs, when a club is talking to an agent, that agent has got a roster of players that they can be talking to a club about. And so plates are always spinning. They're always talking to each other. There's multiple things going on behind the scenes. And so Tottenham are talking to CAA on a weekly, bi-weekly, tri-weekly. They're talking all the time because CAA have got 4,500 players on their books and the various different base sections are there. And they're talking to them about different players. Ezra's name will come up once a week in a box, having dinner, having a glass of wine with Daniel Levy. But CAA are not just talking to Tottenham, they're talking to everybody else. And so
they're paying us off each other. Surely.
It's happening in the background, guys. It's exactly as you've said. This is the stuff that's happening, and it's not that stuff doesn't come out. You won't find that unless you're sat in it.
Like, agents are the sales department for a player. And their job, they're on commission. Their job is to get their product, which is the player, out the door for as much money as possible and get as much of the side piece as they can associated to that player. And they'll all have different tactics. Some will care genuinely and get to be family members, maybe. Others, though, will just be, I'm here for the coin. I'll get you. Who was the super agent? I don't know. They passed away, but they were famous for this, just being able to just get the mammoth, absolute enormous fees, absolute champion at it. But they had the contacts as well to get clubs bidding on the same player who had deep pockets. And, why as well would they go, Spurs, well, do you need him now? Yeah. Do you really need him a lot more tomorrow? Yeah, because time's running out. So the price is going up. Good stuff. They're not going to rush these things either, which could be frustrating for us. But Super Cup, guys, I've got my League Cup, my Europa League trophy here, and I've realised I need to add my I need to get a League Cup as well, because I have witnessed in my life us winning the League Cup. Am I going to get a third trophy? Is my Tottenham trophy shelf, am I going to need to start doing the second row in this, very soon? What are your guys' feelings? How are you feeling about it? JJ's laughing. You're not as optimistic as me, JJ. You're not expecting a Richarlison double header in the 93rd minute.
I think we can go in with hope. Certainly, and we can look at all the things that we all know, that PSG are literally just back off their holidays. They're probably all nice and tanned and, feeling quite refreshed, but maybe not up to speed, not running at 100 miles an hour, which is a good thing because that's how they play, that's how they press. But they are 1 to 11, a stronger unit than we are. They have the finances to build one of these super teams, and they've got a manager who has carved away at some of the, supposedly marquee players to actually build himself a really, really devastating attacking football team. Our hope is that, one, they're undercooked, and two, Chelsea have shown there is a blueprint for beating a side that is going to commit to a press the way that PSG do, and the way they're going to throw players forward and the way they're going to vacate their midfield. There is a way to beat this PSG side. And some of it correlates with what Thomas Frank wants to do, which is playing the ball forward, skipping phases, getting the ball forward to your attacking players quickly, and then trying to be very clinical and finish attacks early. So that's good. That could work in our favour. There is definitely a way that we can win this game. But do I think we're going to win this game? I have a hard time seeing it, having seen how difficult we're finding it to hold on to the football, to hold on to possession, and to move the ball and put it in areas, even if it's not to threaten the opposition, but to move the ball and ease the pressure on ourselves. We've done a lot of kind of low block defending against two sides that didn't play particularly well in Newcastle and Arsenal. I don't think they were brilliant against us, but we did a load of low block defending against them. And then we really struggled against Bayern, which is just quality players doing things off the cuff. So yeah, do I think we'll win? I'm a Tottenham fan. I'm quite, I'm used to not winning maybe, but is there a way to win? Yes, definitely.
Joe, how many goals are we going to beat PSG by? Just before we move into that, can I just say that he was another manager on our shortlist that we were skeptical of if you take the general feeling about the suggestion of getting Enrique. And I'd just be interested if we ran that. I just wonder in the space of 3 years if now most people would deem him as the exciting marquee manager that should be managing a club like Tottenham, and just how recency bias affects things and how certain coaches can do so well in certain setups and fit certain clubs, but less so others. But anyway, Joe, how many goals?
He's a great manager.
I
think he's done a great job there. Yeah, I think he's done a great job there. Obviously, they've been in a lot of big games recently, so have watched them a fair bit, and I think they are very good, and some of their players are extremely exciting to watch. I can't believe how many goals they get from their right and left backs. Hakimi is just an amazing player. They've got good players in the midfield. I can't remember the little guy's name, but he seems to be everywhere. So, yeah, as a Tottenham fan, I have hope. As a football fan, I know that games can go any direction. Anything can happen in football. So is there a chance? Yes, we win this game. If I'm being honest, do I think we will win? No, unfortunately, I don't. I really want to say yes, but I know that I'd just be lying. And yeah, there's a chance, like what JJ laid out. There's some things that can happen again as well. Like anything can happen in football, and I'm going to be sitting there really hoping we win it. And I think it's an important game for us. I think we'll show more than we did against Bayern. We will have been not on a plane for 6 days, so that's nice. The energy level should be back up, and a few of our players have shown they step up in big games. Like Romero will put in a 10 out of 10 performance, and Van de Ven will play well. We know those things are going to happen. It's just, can we score? And that's the part. If we do win, I think it's 1-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think in these kind of cups, this is like bigger than the Community Shield, but it's not as big as like a FA Cup in my head. Like it's a real trophy, but it's like the entry. I'm calling it a real trophy because we've got a shot at winning it, and if we win it, exactly. I'm 100% calling this a real trophy. If we lose, it's just the European Community Shield in my head. Don't care. If we win, I'm buying the replica trophy. It's on my shelf. It's another European trophy for Tottenham that Arsenal haven't won. So I'm going to go for...
Are you going to give me a score prediction?
I'm going to give you a score. I'm going to go for...
Can you do hope and real?
I'm going to go for it being 1... Actually, we'll... in the comments, can we have your score predictions as well, please? And who is going to... And a bit of detail behind it. Like, I want to know if Spurs are winning 1-0, who's scoring it? If we're losing 4-0, why? I'm going to go for 2-2 and penalties, and for Richarlison to like just slip over and somehow still score a ridiculous goal that looks like it was meant to be a deliberate dummy shot, but it was just actually him falling over, and we win. We just shithouse our way through it somehow.
There's no way Richie is
completely unjust.
Keeper.
15% possession and 3 shots in 120 minutes. Does it go to extra time or does it just go straight to pens?
Don't know. No idea. Never watched it before. I'll do my prediction of score then. I'm going to stay with 1-0 as our chance of winning. And just because of Pat's been our only goal scorer, I'll get Pap another goal to do it. And then I'll do a realistic one. And then I hope it isn't, but I think 3-0 to PSG might be the actual score. And I don't know what that means for us going forward. Does a score like that put a big dent in the confidence of the team?
Is it a massive influence? I see because JJ earlier, though, you spoke about like the booster signing can have. Is this important, do you think, psychologically for us to have a good performance? Or is it just whatever? It's just a friendly. You shouldn't think too much about it.
No, this matters. This is a game that matters. The manager's already referenced it a few times. This will matter. They will take this seriously. You'll probably get a good look at our first choice 11, the one that's going to play the majority of minutes, barring future signings coming in. And you're going to see Thomas Frank's, best lineup against teams that will be above us in the considered to be above us in the Premier League. So this will be taken seriously. Players will want to win it. We're not Real. We've not won 50 Champions Leagues. To them, this cup means nothing. This is a pre-season friendly. To us, it matters.
That's fair.
And PSG, similarly, as big a club as they are and as much money as they've got, they do not have a massive European history. So again, to them, this still matters, and their fans are very passionate. So yeah, this game will get played properly, and yeah, absolutely, it matters.
There you go. I do have to agree. I think this would add a whole wave of optimism and belief that has sapped us. And I understand the reason why people feel a bit down and dejected. Some people feel depressed about it because they love the last manager and he's gone. Some people are angry about injuries. Some people are angry about a transfer window that's not moving quick enough in their eyes. Some people are just still hungover from somehow being European champions and relegation candidates in the space of the same season. There's endless reasons why you might be feeling a little drained.
One more reason. Some people's business model is to be negative, so they're going to be negative.
That too, yeah. Some people are just... Yeah, and I could say like some people just... They've been around the houses with Spurs a few more years than us, and they're just a little tired. They're just tired. Yeah. They just want it easy. They just want to go, can we just do what City do for a bit? Can I just have like a 5-year period where we just smash everyone up?
Cheat.
And we just win. I'm sick of being... I've sat through more projects than you, Joe, Jim, and JJ. That's what they're saying. You weren't even born when I started supporting this club, and I'm tired. It's nothing personal.
That's definitely true.
But I would say we're nowhere near as bad a situation as some of the kind of vibe seems to be. And I still think odds are Spurs are going to add 1 or 2 more players this window. If we add a 10 and we add that 10 who can play on the wide left, and we add a defender as well to back up the Van der Ven, I do think we'll be in an okay position to... I don't think Newcastle and Villa have done enough this window for me to say it's unrealistic to be scrapping around with them for that 5th spot and enjoy our home games again, being good at home and be difficult to beat and all that stuff. So, yeah.
And Forest are bottom half of the table team, so they're not going to compete against us either.
And we will get to go to the Forest relegation part at the end of the season, potentially, which would be nice.
Get in the bin, Forest.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to make this rivalry. We've already got pretend rivalry of Leicester, Forest. Who else?
West Ham.
Yeah. I was deliberately just going to ignore them just to wind them up in case there's one West Ham fan listening.
We have the most rivalries that any club in the Premier League has, for sure. For some reason, every team hates us. I don't know what it is.
And the ones that don't have a hoodoo over us, like Newcastle. Like we don't beef. We don't really know each other, but they always smash us. We're like, why?
There's no rivalry with City, but they're annoyed by us because for some reason we always beat them too. So we're the opposite with them.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Should we wrap up? Back for the originals podcast tomorrow. So if you want to ask questions, join the Discord. I'll post the link one more time in the YouTube comments. But you can also find it on X if you're watching there. I've put it in the comments of this video, and we will go over your questions tomorrow. We've also got some new finance episodes coming up. So we've decided to do mini episodes on the finance to explain things like, if you find this stuff interesting like me, if you're sad enough to enjoy it, what's the difference between cash flow and revenue and why it's important in football, how transfer budgets actually work in football, and giving you an idea of what Spurs probably is based on that. Any other questions you might have, we'll run the episodes accordingly along with people who work in corporate finance. So yeah, that'll be fun. And then we'll be back to hopefully 4 or 5 shows a week as the season commences. That's it, guys. Up the Spurs.
Nice one. Up the Spurs.
And I did that thing again, where I don't hit end stream.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.